Welcome to what I think is going to be a spirited episode of the Check-In. I'm Jared Yates Sexton here with Danielle Moody. This is a show where a couple of friends hang out on their lunch break and talk about life under ascendant fascism, including a Samuel Hawthorne-like situation where we went out into the forest and we have seen all of the elders dancing with the devil in the dark moonlight. Danielle, I have a lot of thoughts on what all is being revealed to us right now, things that we've felt, things that we have had our own suspicions about for a while. How you doing, friend? What are you thinking about?
I, you know, I I am not well.
Yeah.
I think that I am really I went to bed last night and I posted, which I'm trying not to do, right? Like trying to take my own advice, which is get off of social media, an hour or two before bed so that I could actually sleep because I've been having difficulty sleeping. Surprise, surprise. And last night, I'm just laying in bed and I'm thinking to myself, my God, Donald Trump is mentioned 38,000 times in this latest Epstein drop. And you have the Deputy Attorney General of the United States telling us that there is no problem with partying with a convicted pedophile and a sex trafficker, that in and of itself is not a crime and it's not worthy of investigation. And I am finding myself here and I said, my God, I thought, given everything we've seen and done, that the abuse, torture, and potential murder of children was not a partisan issue. That the abuse and torture and potential murder and disappearing of children was something that we all shared in terms of a shared sense of morality and where are our values. And my God, I laid in bed and looked up at the ceiling and I said, this world, this country is being run by the most depraved, cruel, and
Yep.
heinous fucking monsters. And I honestly don't even have the processing power. And I have a high level of processing that I do not have the processing power to wrap my brain and arms around the sociopathic behavior of these people and the normalization that you're going to speak to that is just what are we even doing here? How are we even going about our day? Going to the grocery store. I went and worked out this morning and I'm working out this morning and I'm like, the country is run by a syndicate of pedophiles. All of the things that we said were tin hat conspiracies have now borne light in truth, right? In these files released. And we're just all going along as if this shit is normal. And I feel fucking insane. I feel insane. So that's how I'm doing.
Absolutely. I'm with you on that. And before I get into the deeper and darker territory here, I want to share something with the chat, with the family here. You know what I've rediscovered? It was something that I did when I was a kid, when I lived in an abusive, dysfunctional environment. I would grab a book and I would just say, y'all motherfuckers can't get to me for a bit.
Yeah.
You can't touch me for a bit. I'm going to be over here. You can't talk to me. I don't have to deal with your debauchery. I don't have to deal with your abuse. I don't have to deal with your anger. I don't have to deal with all of it. I'm going to be over here. And by the way, it'll still be there when I'm done reading.
Yeah.
But guess, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to read a bunch. And it is the healthiest thing that I've done in forever. And it is doing wonders for me. I just want to give that tip before I get into what I say. The realization that I have had is, Daniel, you ever, I'm a weirdo. I'm an absolute sicko who studies the weirdest shit. And have you ever studied secret societies? Have you ever looked into them?
So I've never studied them, but I'm more of the Hollywood version side where I love those
Right.
kind of bullshit movies and books.
Yeah.
But I've never actually researched them.
Secret societies work a lot like organized crime, weirdly enough. They have a bunch of rituals that make it seem a lot fancier, right? A lot of balls, a lot of, costumes, things like that. You know what they do? They invite a person into the organization and they say, hey, welcome to the organization. And then each step that you take, you are exposed to something worse. And it's a test. It's a test to see, are you going to be able to handle this? Will you keep your mouth shut? Will you play ball? Will you do all of this? Right? And guess what? It doesn't matter how horrific the step is that you just went through. You go to the next step and you find out it's something even more horrific. Right? And over time, you're in for a penny, you're in for a pound. I've already done all this shit, so let's keep going. And guess what I realized about all of this? I realized that everything about living in this society is like being indoctrinated into a secret society or organized crime unit. You know what we have to do, Danielle? The first step is you're looking around, you're seeing that your family's being treated terribly. Are you going to do something, or are you going to shut up and you're going to go to work? Oh, you're seeing people who are homeless, who are suffering. Are you going to step over them and not think about it? Oh, the next step, all of a sudden we're bombing brown people in another country and you're watching their children destroyed. Well, I'm not going to think about that. There's an election to win. The next step that you have, all of a sudden your neighborhood children are being taken. The next step is you find out that the world is run by a fucking group of satanistic, murderous pedophiles. And guess what, Danielle? The price for living in this world, it just keeps going up. Does it not? The
Yeah.
things that we have to deal with, we are being indoctrinated into a world in which these assholes, these motherfuckers can do whatever they want at any given time and they're not going to be held responsible. That is the final humiliation. The final humiliation for the rest of us is they'll take away our health care, they'll take away our jobs, they'll take away our food, they'll take away our clean air, but we're going to have to sit with it. And the people who want to talk about elections, how do you vote against this? Biden had all this information. He didn't release it.
I swear to God.
He didn't release it. The Democrats haven't even really been pushing for this shit. How are you going to vote this out? You're talking to me about going in November and putting a ballot in a box? And you know what it makes me think of, Danielle? And I had this moment this morning. It was very strange. I hope you'll bear with me for just a second. I saw a video of people in Minneapolis, and ICE agents were getting some food in a Mexican restaurant. And an entire neighborhood of Minneapolis residents descended on the restaurant and they harassed them until they left. And they let them know, you need to go where we're going to beat the living shit out of you. They let them know that's what's going to happen. You're not taking our children anymore. You're not going to hurt our neighbors anymore. How in the hell are we talking about ballots? We should be talking about there is not a single person involved in any of this who should be able to show their face in public without worrying that the worst possible thing is going to happen to them. That's where we are in this situation. We're not talking about elections. We're not talking about who controls Congress. You know who controls Congress? These motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. It's I I feel like we are in an experiment where we are being asked to either severely disassociate, like that show Severance, right? Where it's like, oh, once I go into this elevator, I have literally had a lobotomy and now so that I can function. And I feel like between the hours of 9 and 5, we are all experiencing severance, where we are literally like cutting off the reality of what we're being indoctrinated and exposed to. And I think that you're absolutely right. Every single step of this, just think about the last 10 years of Trumpism. Every single step from the descending down the fucking escalator until now, boots on the ground in Nigeria without a fucking I don't know, a script from Congress that says, oh, you can engage in war. Like, here is where we are, because every step of the way, they moved the Overton window. They pushed our consciousness. They pushed our morality until it just ceases to exist.
Yep.
Until now, we're at a place where we are literally having casual conversations about the fact that the powers that be, from royalty to presidents to prime ministers to tech giants to CEOs, etc., are all a part of a pedophilia syndicate. And that children have been disappeared. People have been disappeared. And there are all of these just, mysterious suicides that have occurred over the last 30 years. Right? And no investigation, no front page news, not the New York Times, not the LA Times, not the Boston fucking Globe. Nowhere is this being found. Joe Biden tripped on a curb, and that was front news for weeks. These people are brutally torturing children, and it's nowhere to be found. And so, yeah, we sit here, and I'm thinking to myself, like, I don't want to talk to you about an election 9 months from now. What the fuck are we even doing? Like, I continue to say that phrase, like, what are we even doing right now? Because talking to you about the possibility of an election when we are talking about murderers, we are talking about rapists. Fucking Melinda French Gates was on a podcast that is going viral right now. The white woman asks her, so you don't need to get into the specifics, but like this new information that has just been revealed about your ex-husband having contracted STDs from Russian girls, children that he was fucking while he was still married to you, raping while he was still married to you, talked about the fact that he tried to slip her medication unbeknownst to her because of the diseases that he was being caught up in. And Melinda Gates looks at the woman and says, how do I feel? I feel sad. She never had to say yes, no. She goes, I feel sad. I feel a grief. And she goes, but I want to be clear. I've moved on with my life. I'm no longer in this marriage for a reason. I took my name off of the foundation. I left the foundation because I can't participate in this. That's what she said. So what does that tell all of us? It's the fucking truth. All of these women, all of these children, all of these people, the handwritten notes, the tips to the FBI, all of it is true. And so what other smoking fucking gun are we actually waiting for now? Because the sickest thing about the Epstein files is that nothing is going to happen. Not in this country. Other countries may be prosecuting people and open up investigations, but in this country, they have normalized child rape. In this country, it's just you go along for the get along, keep your head down so that you can keep a roof over your head and your health care and this, that, and the other thing. Like, my heart breaks for these people that suffered through this and now are watching it play out after years, decades of holding it in, thinking that maybe this time accountability will come and this is what this country is doing. It is sick, Jared. America is so fucking sick. And I don't know if there's a cure. I really don't.
I mean the cure, and it's hard to say this, but the cure is putting it down. That's the cure. I'm sorry, but it is. This entire system, and it always has been, white supremacy, capitalism, intentional austerity and scarcity, whatever you want to call it, it has always been this. We were talking before we started recording, and it's like, this was the basis of Greece. This was the basis of Rome. This was the basis of the British Empire. And the reason is because the people who are powerful, who are willing, by the way, to kill us. Like, my family members die early because they don't have access to resources, right? Because they've been used up by a machine. They've had their bodies broken. They've been chewed up and spit out, and then they die before they reach the age of 60. And everybody, like, there's a distance to that, right? Like, oh, it's not my fault. It's just a system. Oh, he probably didn't take care of himself. Oh, he probably didn't eat well. He probably drank too much, whatever it is. They have created a system that kills us. And if you are willing to benefit from that, if you are willing to make billions of dollars, you cannot become a billionaire without being a fucking murderer. Period. And I said this, I wrote a thing yesterday. The Democrats, they're just the ones who have a better mask on. They're the ones who say the nice things. You have them having their galas and they're all sitting around congratulating each other. Oh, we're gonna help people in Africa. Thanks, Bill Gates. Thanks a lot, Bill Gates, for all of your philanthropy. Guess what? It's a facade. And what is actually happening in the middle of all of this, Danielle? Part of my problem is I spend way too much time studying authoritarianism, and I spend way too much time studying these subcultures. Do you know what's happening with the online right now? The same assholes who were peddling QAnon conspiracy theories, do you know what they're doing now? They're now normalizing pedophilia. They're now saying Jeffrey Epstein has aura. He's turned into a meme. He's turned into a character for them. They had their entire worldview actually shown to be true. Why? Because it was an intelligence psyop, is why, in order to hide what they were doing. So the far right, who have destroyed democracy in order to protect the children, they found out that what they believed was right, but it was sort of askew, and now they've just moved on. And now they like Jeffrey Epstein. And now they like pedophilia. Why? Because of what I said earlier. The price for going along to get along keeps going up. And here's the thing. I don't care at this point. My entire career can be fucking destroyed. I don't care. I want to be able to sleep at night.
Yeah.
I want to be able to look in the mirror. You and I have been on the margins and in media from times, and we don't have to get in specifics. How many times have you worked for a media organization and had to think twice before you said something, thinking about whether or not the paycheck was going to keep coming?
It's why I've been fired from corporate media
It's
places.
why you don't find
Like,
on a place like Substack, right?
yeah,
Because that entire fucking group of people, these same assholes who are telling you Donald Trump can't rig an election. You guys
yeah,
are hysterical, all this stuff. What is happening? They're paying the price. The price is to debase yourself. The price is to look the other way as children are being raped. The price is to look the other way as women are being murdered and
yeah.
abused and raped. It's to look the other way as trans people can't leave their houses. It's to look the other way as gay people can't even exist in the United States of America. And the worst truth about all of this, Danielle, you and I keep using proper nouns, and I'll go ahead and call it like it is. Jeffrey Epstein, people are like, did he work for American intelligence, Israeli intelligence, or Russian intelligence? He worked for all of them.
Yep.
He worked for all those motherfuckers. And how is that capable? Because you and I talk about things like nationalism and patriotism. Countries don't exist for these people. The elections that we're voting in, that doesn't exist for them. They've transcended it. They are above nations. That's what's happened at this point. The rest of us are left behind playing a game that they gave up on long ago and rigged. And what are we doing now? We're all going to sit around and be like, yeah, it's pretty troubling in there. I'm seeing mainstream journalists who are saying, I'm getting kind of tired of the Epstein story. What the fuck are you talking about? What the fuck are you talking about? And Democrats are like, oh, we won't say abolish ICE. We need to restrain, reform, rein them in. We need common sense reform. Chuck Schumer shouldn't be able to show his face in public.
No,
These people should not be able to go out and
no.
get a bite to eat. We should be hounding them to the edge of town and
Yep.
let them know if they come back, worse things will happen. Like, what in the fuck are we talking about at this point?
Like, oh my God. I just, yeah, they've transcended all of this. Like I've talked about and joked about the movie Elysium and talked about how they left Earth and they created this satellite existence that then literally looked down on the rest of us, where they created their sick, twisted, like manufactured utopia while Earth was riddled with disease and climate change and all of these things that they created, right? And then they transcended above because they had the money and the power and the utility to do so. And left I want people to understand, because this is like the core, this is like, to me, at the core of it, Jared. They don't see the rest of us as human beings.
No,
We are not human beings
we're
to the
cats.
Elon Musks and the Donald Trumps
Yes.
and like the Ellisons and this. We are cattle. We are chum for them. right? They are the sharks, and we are chum for them, right? We are disposable for them. It's like it is the mentality of the slaveholder who saw black bodies no different than looking at a tractor, looking at a hose. If the hose breaks, well, you just get another hose. And that is how they saw black people and black bodies. And now that is how the ultra rich see the rest of us. We are not human beings. They are. I was thinking about this last night. This is why I can't sleep. I'm thinking about this last night and I say to myself, they don't see us as human beings. And so where is all the money and the investment that they're putting in? It's all going into artificial intelligence. And why? Because artificial intelligence doesn't complain, doesn't need a break, doesn't need health care, doesn't need a vacation, doesn't need maternity or paternity leave. It doesn't need any of those things. And you get to produce more and make more, and your overhead is basically zero. Oh, except for the resources that you're sucking up out of the fucking ground. But who cares? Because those people eventually will die off because they don't have enough water and they don't have the jobs in order to pay the utility bills that are now skyrocketing. There's a reason, like all of these things are connected for their like this new sense of manifest destiny, this new desire to gobble everything up. And now they are seeing us, human beings, as an obstacle to their conquests, right? And so they bring in the slave patrollers. Let's round them all up, right? We need some workers, but again, if we round them up and we put them in these cages and then we force them to work 10, 12 hours a day for $1, so that then at the end of the week, they can make one phone call for 10 minutes, because that's actually what's happening at these concentration camps. And if they get sick and measles spreads through, which is what is happening right now, purposefully in the same way that the Nazis had disease spread through the camps to thin the herd, right? All of these things are connected, and we continue to look at them in silos. But all of it is because they have transcended humanity. It's why they are. I mean, we've all heard the stories about Peter Thiel bloodletting with younger, fitter boys. Are they doing that because they want to, or is it because of some torture practice that Peter Thiel is into? All of this, like this humanity mixed with machinery that they are doing, is because for them, they have literally moved past humanity. So the destruction and the dehumanization and the oppression that it's causing is a means to an end, because they see themselves as in late stage conquerors. And there are always, just consequences of war. I don't know how we, as the humans that have been left behind, as the left behinds, I do not know, other than shutting the entire fucking world down, how we transcend this, because it isn't a fucking election. We are not voting our way out of this pedophilia cabal syndicate, right? Like, that's not happening. And we're not relying on the media because they're all in on it. The Washington Post just got their fucking newsroom today. The former editor said, "This is the darkest day that I've ever seen in my 20, 30 years of journalism." Every lever of power is controlled by these people, and they have broken it on purpose.
And we talked about that. I want to say it was last week or the week before. Everyone's like, oh, Jeff Bezos is such a terrible business person. That's not what's happening. He bought it. He bought the Washington Post with the change in his pocket. My guess is him and his oligarchical friends, they laughed about how cheap he got the Washington Post.
Yep.
And destroyed it. It's the same thing happening at CBS News. Everyone's like, oh, Barry Weiss doesn't know what she's doing. Bullshit. She's destroying it. They
She's doing what she
destroy,
was hired to do.
they do, and she might not understand that, but the person who hired her certainly does. They have created a situation where everything is so, and here's the fucking wildest thing about it, Danielle. I don't even know that the people doing this understand it. I say this all the time. People say, is Donald Trump a fascist? Yes, he's instinctually a fascist. If you ask Donald Trump what a fascist is, he couldn't tell you, but he is one. These oligarchs, they don't totally understand that they are carrying out the same trend of history that we have seen over and over again. As long as there have been resources, eventually at some point, the people who have more than everybody else, they get to the point of wealth and leverage and power that they buy up everything that they possibly can. They corrupt the government and then things fall apart. And when things fall apart, they use their power to hurt people. And why? Because they have become desensitized to hurting people. People don't understand about fascism in the 20th century. Danielle, there was a movement before it called futurism. It was an artistic, philosophical movement. It was the idea that humanity was speeding up. And guess what happens when you speed up? If you're going to drive a car real fast, you might hit people. If you're going to have a train going very fast, it might run somebody over. That's collateral damage.
Yeah.
We're speeding up. We're the masters of the universe. We should be able to do whatever we do. And if someone dies, well, I mean, cost of doing business.
You listen to the fathers and grandfathers of AI, and they said, and because I continue, you want to talk about my deep dive and my the weird shit that I'm into. I want to understand the minds of those that created AI.
Yeah.
The questions that are being asked of them is that you knew that there was a potential that 10% of humanity, maybe even 20%, could be wiped out with your creation. Do you know what their responses are? Their responses are, it could happen, but the alternative is so much greater because 10 or 20% of humanity wiped out for them is worth it to own the future.
Danielle, I want to introduce something to people that they might not understand. Just a quick rhetorical question. Did Adolf Hitler think that he was a villain? He thought he was saving the world
Yeah, from
an existential threat.
correct.
And what did that mean? That he should be able to do whatever he possibly could. It's the
Yep.
stories we fucking tell. These people, and listen, Elon Musk is not going to get us to Mars. He's not. He's just not.
I
He's
don't
not.
even think that he wants to get to Mars. I think that it's just the only thing that he wants is to be a trillionaire, is to be able to say that. So it
And
doesn't
there's
matter
right.
if he goes there.
The rift here, if you want to understand the rift between the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, look at it this way. Elon Musk is like, I can throw around whatever slurs I want and hurt whoever I want. I'm going to deliver humanity to the stars. I'm fine taking away rights, right? Bill Gates, and by the way, both of these people, weirdly enough, in the Epstein files, I'm going to use my wealth to help people, right? That is the difference between the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. It's the stories that they have to tell each other. It's the
Yeah.
stories they have to tell themselves. And guess what happens? They're still doing the same shit. So if you think that somehow or another you're going to vote yourself out of this. No. What you're doing is you are lining up to give money to put your entire personality around, and to vote for a kinder, gentler destroyer.
Mm.
Somebody who will pet your hair and say, I'm doing this for the best, I promise. We'll help you if we are just given enough power. Oh, we have enough power, but we don't have enough votes. Oh, we don't want to get rid of ICE. By the way, we're deporting more people than the Republican Party. We're just doing it more efficiently. And what is that, Danielle? It's what we've been talking about when it comes to the ability to wipe people out. If you somebody said earlier, they're like, oh, we're heading towards the Handmaid's Tale. No, 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 no. No. No, no. The Handmaid's Tale didn't have the technology that we do. If you want, and by the way, we
Yeah.
were talking about Minneapolis a second ago. Everybody who shows up at these protests, guess what? They're finding themselves on domestic terrorist
Terrorist
watch
watch
lists.
list. Yep.
You and I and everybody else are going to have to realize we're living in a brand new world. These people aren't fucking around. And they are not going to even hesitate before they pull a trigger. They're not even going to hesitate before they destroy us. What does that mean for us, Danielle? It means we have a choice.
It's a zero sum choice,
It's
but
it's
it's still a choice.
it's not a good choice. And
It's not a good choice.
if your answer in the middle of all of this, in February 2026 AD, the year of our Lord, is we need to wait 9 fucking months, the amount of time it takes for a baby to gestate, you're gonna wait and give these motherfuckers 9 more months? Have you lived in the past 12? Have you
Have
lived
you lived in the past 4 weeks? Have you
No
lived in the past 4 weeks?
no shit.
Yeah, it's you know, I was reading this thing the other day on like wealth management, right? Like, oh, how to build wealth. And and it occurs to me, right, which is like the truth of what we're talking about. These people don't look at money the same way.
No.
Money is not to like pay a bill, right? Like money is not even to like take a vacation. Like the way that they look at money is through the lens of domination,
Power.
right? And power, right? So while you're busy just trying to get by, they're using their wealth and influence to conquer, right? So we have to understand that when we say things to the point that you were making earlier, oh, Jeff Bezos is ruining the Washington Post. It's going to lose all of its money. Or Barry Weiss is ruining CBS. It's going to tank. Or like, this place is tanking, blah, blah. They don't care.
They don't care.
The
How did
the
Amazon
goal, the goal, you're assuming that that's how they make their money. It isn't. They have weaponized their money and their power in order to destroy our ability to process, receive news, process that news, and to connect with one another. The tools and the platforms that were created initially to bring us together is now what they are using to surveil, and they are weaponizing against us. So this idea that we think that, oh, the dollar is going down, Donald Trump is destroying the economy. Yes, it is to elevate then crypto and gold, which they own in fucking spades. Crypto, FYI, folks, was created to be able to buy people. They couldn't do it with inside of a regular economic system. So they created this black market outpost called crypto. And then they let a few people fucking in it who were like, oh, look at me, I'm going to get wealthy. But they didn't realize that they were a part of an entire cabal that was about trading human beings.
Yep.
So, for the love of God, stop looking at what you are seeing as the depressed dollar and what you're seeing as these businesses going belly up as if they're not able, as if they're not already covered. This is not how these people make their wealth. So stop looking at it as if you were a small business owner and now you've made a wrong decision and you've lost your house. That's not what's happening. They have created tax shelters and coverage and bankruptcy policy for their protection. This is about destroying your connection to community, access to information, and the ability to fight your way out of this. That's what they have done.
Danielle, pop quiz. I don't know if you know this, if you're a sicko enough to know this. For a 30-year period, who was the biggest business failure in the United States of America?
For a 30-year,
For a 30-year
I
period,
have no idea.
Donald John Trump. He was the biggest failure of a business person. Did he lose money? Did
No,
did did he go completely broke?
no.
Is he president of the United States of America making billions of dollars off
Yep.
of the presidency? It's weird how that happens. Because you and I, we live in a completely different world than these people.
Yep.
If I go down the street and I open up a shop, like I have to keep track of what the numbers actually are. And if it goes under, it's my ass. I'm done.
Yep.
These sons of bitches have rigged this thing to the point where win, lose, draw, whatever it is, they're going to make their money. Period. Amazon, how did Amazon get built? Because it carried out monopoly practices where it lost money constantly. Same thing with Uber. All of these companies, AI has never profited. Not once. And it's making these people money hand over fist because they have created an entire situation where they never lose. And guess what? That's not just the economy, it's politics. There's a reason. And by the way, Donald Trump, before his mind turned to fucking rancid jello, he told us the truth a couple of times. You know what he said on the debate stage? And one of the reasons why people ended up voting for him or they made the calculations? He said, guess what? I give to everybody. I give to
Yep.
everybody because whoever gets in is going to do what I want them to do. That was one of the more lucid and actually revealing things that he's ever said. Red versus blue, it's a fucking lie. It's
Yep.
always been a fucking lie, at least in the modern history of things. You're watching a football game acting like it matters who actually wins. That's all it is. It's not going to change anything for you. And I know that makes people squeamish. I know that makes people feel very uncomfortable. Why? Because going back to something that you and I have talked about, and one of the main themes of this entire series that we've been doing, what does everybody want, Danielle? They want the illusion of control. They
Yep.
want to feel like things are under control. Things are not under control. Things are
No,
exceptionally out of fucking control. And there's
out of
a
control.
control.
Like this is, again, an example. The Matrix, right? Recognizing that everything has been a simulation. Everything was created to keep the sheep moving forward, right? So that the machines could do whatever it is that they were doing because they were the ones in control. And it was this illusion of the middle class. Let's give them just enough. If they have a little house and a white picket fence and they feel like, again, Lyndon B. Johnson, they're just a little bit better than their neighbor, they're doing a little bit better than the person down the street, then we get to continue along. But what the point that these oligarchs got to is, I don't give a fuck if you have a little bit or not.
Yep.
Right? Like your happiness is not dependent on my ability to continue to amass this grotesque amount of money. As a matter of fact, I now see you as an obstacle, not as a cog in the machine that I'm building, because I've surpassed needing you. Right? So, like, I think that people believe that there is leverage here because there are more of us than there are of them. There are, but they have been so successful in their division of us in the red versus blue, white versus black, immigrant versus citizen, gay versus straight, ethnicity against ethnicity. They've been so good in creating this monopoly game, right? Where everyone has been against everyone and they have been robbing you fucking blind. And now 1 million people are laid off last year. And guess what's coming? Millions of people are about to be laid off. And no one is talking about what? Universal basic income. No one is talking about what to do with those people that are now going to be unemployed and are not going to go into a trade, right? What they're going to go into are those huge prisons that Donald Trump is building, those for-profit prisons that they have just exposed all over the place. That's where they're going.
And by the way, on that note, and I'm glad that you brought it around to this, people are like, well, we need a jobs program. Guess what? We have a jobs program. It's called ICE.
Who,
Called
by
ICE.
the way, hasn't received apparently their $50,000 bonus. And now they're all like, what happened to our bonuses?
And what ends up happening? It's exactly what is happening right now. When you get to the point of economic downturn, the way things are going right now, eventually at some point, how do you make money? You make money off of the suffering of others. You are presented with the option, which, by the way, you're not going to join ICE if you're like calling for the criminal pedophiles to be prosecuted. You need to get on board with a political party. Danielle, how many years now have the Republicans been saying, what are age of consent laws?
Yeah, they've been,
Yeah.
rolling them back. We've actually had members of Congress that
Yeah.
have said, I know people that were 12 years old that got married. I don't see anything wrong with that. They see something wrong with your 12-year-old reading a book, but not your 12-year-old working in a meat factory and then getting married and popping out a baby by
No
15.
problem.
That's no problem there.
Also, by the way, just a little thing that, and we don't have enough time to get totally in the weeds, but for people who want a little bit of context in deep politics, one of the largest problems, and climate change, obviously, I think is behind a lot of what's going on right now. Even people who deny it's real, they're still figuring out where the resources need to be for them to, make it through this thing. It's also the demographic bomb that's coming. People can't afford to have kids. People can't afford to have families. And guess what? You need a certain amount of people in order to make services work and in order to make capitalism at least stay online, which means it'll probably fall apart. And going back to this idea, Danielle, the best way possible is to take away women's rights and to
Correct.
make sure that they're having as many kids as humanly possible. Got to start them
To
early.
make sure that white women are
White women
having as many kids as
start them
possible.
early. Start them early. Meanwhile, what's happening every single day? And Danielle, I was a child of the 1980s and 1990s. People are going to sit here and tell me the sexualization of girls just started? Are you going to tell me that? Are you going to tell me that this country hasn't been steeped in this for as long as any of us have been alive? We've been conditioned to this. The final humiliation is the idea that, and by the way, Danielle, what you said about them dividing us, it used to be like, who's going to get the jobs? Who's going to get political power? Who's going to get this? We're fighting over who's in a fucking Star Wars movie now.
Mm.
We're fighting over the Super Bowl halftime show is going to be in Spanish. Like, we should be ashamed of ourselves. Children, not just children, but just the most nearsighted children imaginable, who are being taken advantage of constantly. And we're being put in a position where we have to, in order to survive at this point, we have to be accomplices. It has to. You have a president who is fucking dying in front of us and shitting his pants on camera, has no idea what the fuck he's talking about. And guess what? If you haven't read The Emperor's New Clothes recently, go and read it. Because what this is a requirement to go further. People talk about universal basic income? What? What makes you think that would happen in this fucking country? They're going to make you live in neo-ghettos, is what they're going to do.
Mm.
And they're going to hire your neighbor to arrest you and to take your children from school. That's where this is going. They're not going to give you shit. Period.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, it's either everyone, and I mean everyone, collectively wake the fuck up
Fuck up.
and realize that, like, there's only one way out of this. There is only one way out of this, and it is in voting.
No.
And in every single era, there has been a moment of what? Revolution. Every single era. Because why? Because the greedy in every era always get to the point
Yep.
where they have done too fucking much.
Too much.
Right? Every single time. And every single time, they are toppled. Everything is destroyed and then gets to be rebuilt. You have a little bit of time where it's just like, oh, we've learned our lesson. And then the cycle starts over again. We are in a cycle. This
Yep.
cycle is just fueled by technology in a way that past eras were not. But it is the same fucking cycle.
And they had their version of it. They had their in the mid 20th century fascism. They had radio. It's the same fucking thing. You're exactly right. It's just that the technology gets better and their ability to hide it gets better. That's exactly right.
But you get to a point, and this is where we are, in my opinion. You get to a point with power where you no longer want to hide, where you no longer feel like you need to hide. Who
Yep.
am I hiding from? I
Yep.
own you, right? Like, I can own you if I want to. So we are at that point where they no longer want to wear the mask, where they don't need to give to I don't need to build you a fucking library. I don't need to build you a road. I don't need to pretend to be some type of philanthropist, right? I am the nothing. I am going to consume, consume, consume until there is nothing left. So you have these two, right, avatars. The Bill Gates that wanted to pretend that he was a philanthropist, that he gave a shit, that he wanted to be on the cover of the magazines. Look at him, he's a genius, and look how he's giving back with his wealth. Meanwhile, he is getting STDs by raping fucking girls. Then you have Elon Musk, who says, fuck you in your philanthropy. I'm an outright Nazi. I'm a child born of apartheid South Africa, and I believe that the whites should have had and kept everything. And I'm not giving a fucking thing back. And guess what? I too will still land on the cover of the magazines, and people will worship at my feet and call me a genius, even though I've never created a fucking thing in my life. All I have done is consume, consume, consume.
I say it again, and sometimes it's unpopular. They have done us a favor. Dropping the act, dropping the performance, looking us dead cold in the eye and saying, we are who you think we are. That is one of the biggest favors that we have ever been given. The question, though, is whether or not we forget it and whether or not we just put our heads down. Somebody just said in the comments, we see them. We see them. We know them. They are who we thought they were. We were not delusional for the past 10 years. We knew what was going on. We saw all of it. Period. The question now is, are we going to go back to sleep? And I'm not going back to sleep. You're not going to go back to sleep. And people are not going to. There's no... It's to the point of no return on this. There's no way to go. What are you supposed to do? You're really supposed to see this and then just pretend it didn't happen? How do you do that? How do you do it?
By erasing it from every mainstream paper, from every mainstream, if we don't talk about it, right? They are using the idea of everything disappears when we close our eyes, right? So if there is no news about it, if no one is covering it, then it does disappear. And this is why those that are in independent media, like us, folks that have bigger and smaller platforms than we do, we cannot let this go, because the Washington Posts and the New York Times and the CNNs and the MS Nows or whatever the fuck they call themselves, like, they are complicit. They are accomplices because folks just follow the money. One of the other things, I have to say this, and I know in a committee hearing, and I cannot remember the name, is it Blumenthal? I'm not quite sure. But one of them said, do you know what also came up in this recent drop of the 38 that millions of files? Is the thousands of transactions that Donald Trump made to Jeffrey Epstein that amount to, over the course of time, like $1 billion. And he says there are like 4,500 transactions that Donald Trump made to Jeffrey Epstein. And a politician said those are 4,500 investigations that could happen, right? Follow the money. We've been saying, follow the money. This man was running a multi-billion-dollar child trafficking and torture and murder syndicate, right? He was being paid for something. Follow the fucking money. But they don't want to, because all of the banks, Deutsche Bank and this bank and that bank, they knew what was up. They knew what was up. And they worked overtime to get Donald Trump reelected, because they knew that if he became president again, all of this would disappear. And frankly, all of the Democrats that had this same information chose not to pursue it, because what? The institution.
100%. And I have a random thought and then a closing thought. First things first. Danielle, do you know where we got the lottery from? Like state lotteries?
No.
The government saw what the organized crime bosses were doing and wanted in on the action. It's just institutionalized numbers. That's all it is. Because organized crime would run gambling, and eventually the state looked at it and they said, hey, that's a really good way to make some money. So we're going to do it. The funniest thing is that the state often looks at what organized crime does and sees the benefits of it and then gets in on it. It's weird how that happens. And isn't it strange that one of Epstein's main clients and collaborators is now in charge of the government? It's almost like organized crime got brought in order. And that makes me wonder a lot about what's going on with children right now. What's happening around the world with these assholes in charge? Because am I supposed to believe that the people who did this just stopped? And now they're in charge of the government and they have total impunity, like that they're not doing any of this? That's the next level of this shit. Is exactly because you look at it and it kind of looks like Donald Trump looked at Epstein's operation and wanted it for himself. Why
Yep.
why'd they stop talking? Because Epstein poached one of his girls. That's why they had a falling out. So there's a real question right now about all of that. And by the way, you want to go into deeper politics, look at what this government has done with drugs. And all of a sudden you start to realize we are being ruled over by fucking organized crime. And there's a reason why they didn't prosecute Donald Trump. There's a reason why they don't hold these investigations. Because if they actually held these investigations, what you would reveal is that we do not have representative government. We are living under organized crime that is becoming bolder and bolder with every passing second. And I want to say one last thing. If I worked at a business and I found out that the owner or boss of the business had done anything even remotely close to what we have now learned that the elite have done, I wouldn't show up to work. I would stop going to work. You know why? Because the paycheck I would get would be bloody. And the other thing, I would hope that me not going to work and hopefully the other people that I worked with not going to work, it would shut the business down. We have to stop participating in this. We have to go on strike. We have to starve this thing. And yes, it
Yeah.
would be ugly and it would be hard and it would be painful. We need to bring this thing to a roaring, painful stop and then let the cards fall where they may.
I can't agree more. The last year I have said we need a national strike.
National strike.
The only thing that is going to stop this is the people of this country saying, I am opting the fuck out. I do not want to fund this syndicate. I do not want to look the other way as children are raped, murdered, disappeared. Folks, they are picking up Latino children, Black children, and disappearing them. Where the fuck do you think that they are going? Where do you think that they are going? The government is run by traffickers. Where do you think that they are going? They are literally doing a pay for play with other countries. Here, El Salvador will give you $4 million, right? You take these 250 people. It is trafficking.
Yep.
That's what is happening. So when you have those flights of what you're calling fancy and you try to shut it down because your brain and your mind goes to that dark place, the dark place is where those motherfuckers live. And we've been too scared and too tepid to go to that place because we were afraid of what we would find. And what I've said, Jared, as we close out, is that what has been released is what they want us to know, and it is grotesque. So imagine what they held back.
For people who don't want to think about it, what happened to Renee Good? What happened to Alex Preddy? Rest their souls. What obvious murders? What do you think is happening in these camps? What do you think is happening behind closed doors? What do you think that we don't already know? Danielle, you know, in revolutions, do you know one of the first places that always gets like knocked over? It's a prison. People go into the prisons and they say, oh my God, we have done wrong here. You want to talk about concentration camps for ICE? Let's talk about fucking penitentiaries right now. What are they? They're fucking slave camps. They've always been slave camps. They were what they put in place of actual chattel slavery. They created a system of it. It's not just what's happening, it's what has happened. And you have to reach the point where you say this shit will not fucking stand anymore.
Come on.
Period. It can't. All right, friend. Thanks for hanging out with me on a Wednesday afternoon. Thanks, everybody.
Oh, dear God, everybody take a deep breath.
By the way,
Everyone.
someone said in the comments, how do we do this when we have hug your kids? Think about your kids. Love your kids. Think about what it would be if someone was coming for your child. I said that last week. Like if they are coming for your child, you would take care of your child. That's how we
They
approach
they are coming for all of us.
the people in the Epstein files. They're someone's child.
Mm,
They're someone's child. It's so fucking awful. Danielle, I'm glad to be on the same side.
I am as well, my friend. Deep breaths.
All right,
We will push through.
we'll win. We'll get there.